Good morning, good morning, good morning to our viewing and listening audience. Welcome to the Community Health Center of Buffalo's weekly podcast, Color Me Healthy. And today we have a treat. Today, our guest is the Honorable Dr. Rolanda L. Ward, PhD, MSW, MDIV, Associate Professor of Social Work, Niagara University, and my new shero.
Sweet.
Dr. Ward, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you so much. You are so sweet and
Thank
generous
you.
with your warm greeting.
Oh yes, all of it is in earnest. I don't want to waste any time. I want to get right into it. I want you to tell us who is the real Dr. Rolanda Ward. You have all these titles, and my God, you're educated beyond most people's dreams. But how did those Dr. Rolanda Wards become Dr. Rolanda Wards? Who's the real girl?
It's a great question, Miss Carla. First, I want to say thank you for having me on today. It's very nice of you to invite me. I think if we're going to say who is the real Rolanda Ward, she is nothing but a girl from Buffalo, New York. That's who she is. Born and raised here. Educated in the public school system.
Okay.
Went to 64, what was the old 64 on Lincoln Parkway in Amherst, and then went to City Honors. And
My daughter graduated from
yeah,
there. Yeah.
awesome. So that's who I am, a person who was raised by the church here in Buffalo. It's just, Buffalo is my personality. It's it's what I know best. It's what I'm really invested in. So I'm just a hometown girl. That's who I am.
Oh, okay. So now we have to add humble to the end of those titles. And so one of the things that I saw was that you are the endowed faculty director at Niagara University. What does an endowed faculty director do?
Yes. So, we have a little bit of a story to tell about why this endowed position became to be.
Okay.
So, our country right now is in a little bit of an upheaval. And as I like to say, civil rights number 2. And if we think back to it, our country actually began this road, from Trayvon Martin. And then we had Eric Gardner and Mike Brown. And back in 2015, our students at Niagara University joined other college students across the country and called for some justice, some racial justice. And one of the things that they were asking for is they wanted the university to do more regarding racial equity back in 2015. And Father Marr, who is the president of Niagara, he decided in 2017 to use a portion of an estate gift to start the Rose Bentley Ostapenko Center for Race, Equality, and Mission. Because he wanted to honor his word to those students regarding what NU would do around racial justice. So the endowed, since this center was formed in 2017, that meant that there had to be an inaugural director. And the position is funded because that gift generates interest, right, every year. And we live off that interest in order to do our work. So that is what makes it an endowed position.
Got it.
Yeah, and so I've been the director now. This will be my 4th year being the director of that center.
Wow. And so now, who was Rose Bentley Ostapenko?
Who was she? I know.
Who was she?
Miss Rose Bentley Ostapenko. She was married several times. That's why her name is so long. But she was a very generous woman who had very humble beginnings. She was an immigrant to the United States. And she actually began her work in the clothing industry. And she sold that business, that fabric business, and that's how she began to accumulate her wealth.
Oh.
She was a woman while she was still living who was very philanthropic. And so if you go down into the Maryland, Washington, D.C. area, you're going to see the Ostapenko name on a lot of things because she gave away a ton of her money while she was still living.
Wow.
The gift that we received was after she had already passed away.
Wow. Well, that tells us a little bit about your 9 to 5. Now, let's talk about your 9 to 9. You are the chair of the Health Equity Task, the Niagara Falls Health Equity Task Force.
Correct, yes.
And of which I also am a committee or task force member. Can you tell us how did the task force get started and what are its goals?
Yes. So, like you, Carla, I'm very concerned about the outcomes that our people are experiencing.
Yes.
Right, when it comes to this pandemic. Things weren't fair when the pandemic started.
Yeah.
And they still aren't fair now that we've been in it for 5 months, 6 months. And I was very troubled when the disparity numbers started to emerge.
Oh, yes.
My heart was literally breaking. And the one thing I try to do is, even though, I have had opportunities to get an education, I recognize that not everybody else gets those opportunities.
Yes, exactly.
And that means that I may be in a different position than some of my fellow brothers and sisters only because of an opportunity, not necessarily because I deserved it.
Right.
Right? And so I was really struggling with the fact that many of our community members were just dying or having very significant health issues as a result of this pandemic.
Yes.
Not because of anything that they did, just because, right?
Yes.
And we know that the disparities exist because, unfortunately, our community members have to go to work.
Right.
Our community members have to live multi-generations in a household.
Yes, we do.
Right? There are certain things that our community has to do because we are determined to make it in this country.
Right.
And so I called my friends up at Mount St. Mary's Hospital. Had I known you before then, I would have called you too. But I called them in early May and I said, listen, I don't know what I'm asking for. I don't think I'm asking for anything. But right now, I just need to talk. Right. I need to talk it out about what I'm seeing in these data. And as a researcher, data drives everything that I do.
Yes, it does.
And so they were good listeners and they said too, yes, we're disturbed by the numbers. And we decided to have another call that week. And then after we had that second call, we were like, well, maybe we need to add a couple people to the calls. And within a matter, I don't even know if it was 2 full weeks, within a matter of less than 2 full weeks, we had us a task force. We literally had us a task force, and we started inviting people. We didn't want any task force. We wanted people who can make decisions at the organizational level.
That's right.
Right? Because this is not a time for us to just meet.
Yes.
This is a time for us to get stuff done. So the Health Equity Task Force, our job is to decrease the impact of the pandemic in vulnerable communities up in Niagara Falls.
Yes.
And Niagara Falls is not like Buffalo. There's some significant economic risk factors up there in Niagara Falls. And people don't know that nearly half of the population of the city of Niagara Falls lives at or right above the poverty line.
Yeah. It's a different place.
It is. It is a
Mm-hmm.
very different place.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that we have to be more thoughtful
Mm-hmm.
about outreach and trying to make sure that we are increasing the protective factors
Yes.
for community members, remember, who may not have had the opportunities.
Yes.
Not because they don't want to have a good life, but because they may have not had the opportunities. So we've got to do our part. We have to dig deeper to make sure that they're going to be all right.
Access
Right.
is everything.
Absolutely, it is.
And because so many doors are systemically closed
Mm-hmm.
to poor people and people of color,
Mm-hmm.
um, we have to have institutions like the one that we're talking about in communities in order to open doors or to be those doors.
That's right.
Yes.
That's
and
right.
So that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy being on the task force. But I want to tell you one of the other reasons is your leadership.
Mm.
I don't mind getting a email on Sunday night
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
preparing me
Mm-hmm.
for our meetings on Monday mornings at 10:30
Mm-hmm.
consistently.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind getting emails on Monday night
Mm-hmm.
with a breakdown of that day's meeting
Mm-hmm.
so that you can stay focused
Mm-hmm.
on the task and know what you promised
Mm-hmm.
and look for different ways that you can be of assistance to your task force colleagues.
That's right.
And so that, I believe, is what is really driving the success of the task force within itself. And for me, it's been an outstanding example of leadership. I'm hoping that the people of Niagara Falls understand how this is happening. And if they don't, then I think that's just a bit of our work that we have to step up our game on. Because people got to know that it's people who look like them and people who care about them, not just look like them, but who care about them. The consistency of our meetings and our focus is really what is making a difference. So let me just ask you, if you had to think of the top 3 things that we've done
Yeah.
with this task force over the months, what would you say they are?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that we've done is we've removed barriers to testing,
Yes.
which we have a little blip now, but we're making progress. We've rerouted.
Mm-hmm.
But I was disturbed by the number of hoops people had to go through to get tested during a pandemic.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? Like it was unbelievable to me.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we know in Niagara Falls is that people struggle with transportation.
Yes.
It is a major issue up there.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of the sites were outside of the city, except for you all were the only ones who were testing in the city at that time.
Right.
Right? We had the hospital was testing, but was testing at the hospital. But you guys were in community. And that wasn't going to work.
Right. It wasn't enough.
That wasn't going to work. And so we had to figure out a way to bring testing into our urban centers where our community members live to provide them options.
Yes.
Right? And to take away this whole that you had to have a script, you had to have a doctor. Like our people don't go to the doctor.
Right.
They don't have doctors.
And if they got to go through all of that,
Right.
they're not going to do it.
They're not going to do it. So that would be the first thing, is that we brought testing into our most vulnerable populations. The second thing that we've done is we've actually hit the road and canvassed. And so we've canvassed certain neighborhoods in order to increase the testing outcomes on the days in which those mobile or those site-based testing opportunities were going to happen. And then the next thing I know we've done well, and I'm watching to see what more we're going to do around it. But it's our church training.
Yes.
So we did a virtual training for churches so that they could understand what does it take to actually reopen. I mean, we just learned on the news this past week that people showed up to a church event and an outbreak started.
40 people.
Right? And one of the things that we know about our cultural experience of church, it's very physical.
Right.
It's very intimate.
Spiritual and emotional.
That's right. And during a pandemic, that may not be the best way.
Right.
It may not be the best way. And that really requires us to think in a very different way than we've ever thought about our spiritual connection, our singing, our touching, right? Our embracing.
Yes.
That is how we practice faith. But at this time, that is dangerous.
It is. You're putting your life in danger.
That's right. That's right. And so that virtual training really did help inform churches about some of the things that they may not have considered to be a risky behavior during this COVID time. And we're going to continue that. We're going to continue to provide that opportunity for churches. As you know, because not all churches are open. They're open at different
times.
Like everything has
different
changed.
levels.
That's right.
Well, because our culture and we as a people originated in villages, and so that hasn't changed. Our communities are our villages. People don't understand. They say, oh, these people, they're always hanging on the corner. They're not hanging on the corner. They're gathering because we've always had to find security and peace in one another. And so, by virtue of just the magnitude of this pandemic, those type things, as well as our churches. I wrote this article about a month ago called The Anatomy of a Black Funeral. Our community is hungry for who we are.
Yeah.
And we have been practically stripped of that.
That's right.
As a result of this pandemic. But, the one point I want to make sure that I make today, I really want to put a call out to our young people. Young people.
Yes.
Y'all killing us.
Yes.
You all are making a temporary situation a permanent problem.
That's right.
And we can't continue to do that. You've got to put those masks on.
That's right.
You've got to be more cognizant of where you are, where you go, and what you have the possibility to take home.
That's right.
As Dr. Ward said, we live in intergenerational families. We got Big Mama in the back room.
That's right.
Unfortunately, now I'm old enough to be Big Mama, but that's another story.
No.
But my point is, our seniors can't take what you all may bring to the house.
That's right.
And so you have to be more cognizant. On Sunday, which was my last day of quarantine, I happened to go over to MacArthur Park in Buffalo. It's a little park right off of East Amherst, and there was some kind of festival or something going on there. There was a bounce house for the kids. Mr. Softy was there, about 30 people in line, one right behind the other. And I saw one of my snug brothers, and he came over to the car. And he said, Miss Carla, I have been trying to give these masks away for an hour. And he said, you see where I am? I'm on the perimeter. He said, they don't want them. Young people, if you are under 40 years old, you're an endangered species by virtue of your conduct. I am begging you, I'm besieging you, wear a mask, wash your hands, and be mindful not to gather. You don't know where your friends have been.
That's right. One of the largest category is we have to be mindful of our Black women between 18 and 39. So that category is being hit all across the country.
Hard.
And we know that we are the caregivers for our families in that category. that were sandwiched between children
Yes.
and adult parents.
Yes.
So we not only have to take care of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to take care of our parents and children.
Mm-hmm.
So we then, when it comes to this pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
we now have not just our own exposures,
Right.
but we have exposures back the other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I like to say that the civil unrest is no different than the pandemic.
Mm.
Because the pandemic is demonstrating to us why we have civil unrest.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to resources, it's our community that's getting left out.
Yes.
And I almost think sometimes it may be slightly intentional
Well,
that we're being squeezed
mm-hmm.
in this way.
Not by default, but by design.
Right. That and when we talk about systemic, right, those are the kinds of things that people have to ask and
Yes.
question about.
Yes.
Why is it
Mm-hmm.
that the resources aren't present in the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our family, because that's what we are.
Yes.
We're a family.
That's right. That's right.
Right? Our family, we have to consider that we have to protect ourselves.
Yes.
We've always worked hard for our own benefit and our own behalf. And in this pandemic, we're going to have to work twice as hard.
Yes, we
just
are.
like we have to work in any situation. Right? Like, you know, when I was growing up, my mom was like, you got to do it better.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You have to present yourself different.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the things she said to me in order for me to be able to seize those opportunities for an accomplishment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
As people of color,
Mm-hmm.
we had to work harder.
Yeah, we did.
I'm asking my friends to work harder during this pandemic.
Yes.
Because that's the only way we're going to come out of this having our lives. Because that's what we're talking about, people's
And our
lives.
families intact.
That's right.
Let's talk a little bit quickly about the testing processing
Yes.
that is now the problem. You know,
Yes.
first, you know, we had someone, our leadership telling us, oh, anybody can get a test, and,
Right.
and you know, you go to the hospital, they won't give you a test. You,
Right.
you go to some of the outreaches.
Right.
Well, you can't get one unless you got a prescription
Right.
from your primary
Right.
provider.
Right.
You know, there
Yeah.
were all kind of unnecessary barriers. You go out here to the Walmart parking lot, and you got to give yourself the
Right.
the administer the test yourself. And so now we've gotten past those. Almost had to do surgery where they tried to do put Band-Aids. So now you can get the test, but it's taking you too long to get the results.
That's right.
Now, you know, I want to stress how very important it is to get the test. You
That
got to
is.
know what your status is.
Right.
Because you could very well have it, not have any symptoms.
Right.
Give it to your child,
Right.
give it to your husband or your mate, give it to your grandparents. But you got to know what your status is. So
Correct.
I encourage you, continue to get tested.
Yes.
But now the problem is the results are not coming back in an appropriate amount of time for us to be able to react.
Well, I question that. Because how is it that when we have entertainment industries,
Hello.
they can get tested and their results are immediate?
Yeah, the Marlins are getting tested every 2 days.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I push on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's another example of the inequity that exists in our healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that we are elevating entertainment
Mm-hmm.
over the capacity of people to be able to go to a regular job
Right.
because they need it
Right.
in order to survive?
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that it's not here. It's being driven towards a certain industry
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they're going through tens of thousands of tests
Yes.
on
Absolutely.
a weekly basis.
On a weekly basis. Yes.
Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And getting the results back.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And also too, right, like we're not Canada by any means, but I mean, I had a friend in Mississippi who was able to go to urgent care and get a rapid test. Like, how can one state have the opportunity to get a 20-minute test
Mm-hmm.
And other parts of the country, it takes 2 weeks now to get your results.
And by then you could be dead.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So that's
Yeah.
that's what we have to call out and we have to question.
Mm-hmm.
Why are there differences for different types of insurance payments, different types of financial incentives? Right? Why are there differences in a pandemic?
Well, this is what we want to do. We need to put some pressure.
That's right.
And we got to put that pressure on the people that we put in office.
That's right.
Because just like we put them in,
That's
we
right.
can take them out.
That's right. That's
And
exactly
so
right.
I am urging everyone to call your elected officials and tell them that you want them to step up to the plate and work on this test result problem that we
That's
have.
exactly right.
When you call, you tell them, I've been taking COVID tests. I've been encouraging my family to take COVID tests, and we can't get the results back fast enough. And it's not the place where I get the test fault. It is the lab, supposedly.
That's right.
Tell them you want them to step up to the plate and to work on resolving this issue with the test results so that we can feel safe when we take
That's
our
exactly-
COVID test.
That's
We've
exactly
got
right.
to do that.
That's exactly right.
I want to do two things. I want to give our listening audience my email address. It is ktomas, THOMAS, at chcb.net. I'm giving you my email address because if you email me, I will send you a form letter that you can use to email to your elected official. Then you don't have to worry about writing it.
That's
You
right.
don't have to worry about doing nothing to it, but putting your name at the bottom of it and emailing it to your elected official. So I'm asking you, I'm going to give it to you one more time. It's Carla Thomas. It's ktomas at chcb.net. The task force in Niagara Falls is doing an absolutely outstanding job on addressing these issues, and by meeting every week, we're able to stay on top of them. I now am calling on our communities, Niagara Falls, Buffalo, everybody in surrounding communities to get involved in the advocacy movement that has to come in order to secure fairness
That's right.
in testing and getting the test results back.
That's right. That's exactly right. We all have a part in this. And,
Yes.
Because if we all don't do our part, then we can't get out of this pandemic
No, we
any
can't.
sooner.
No, we
Right? So we
can't.
all have to step up.
So I want to leave one more message, and that is I want to tell you that the Community Health Center of Buffalo, which has 4 sites, Buffalo, Niagara Falls, Lockport, and Cheektowaga, we're testing at all of them. On Mondays from 5 to 7, we are dealing specifically, we've set this time aside for barbers and beauticians to come and get tested on Monday, every Monday at 34 Benwood, Buffalo, New York. On Tuesday and Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. here at 34 Benwood, we are testing right outside on our mobile unit every week. On Thursday from 9 to 4, our mobile unit is in Niagara Falls at our Niagara Falls site at 2715 Highland Avenue. And on Fridays, we're starting to test at one of the schools in Niagara Falls. We're all over the place trying to bring this. We're testing at churches, but those times that I gave you are standard every week. And for those of you who are in Niagara Falls, even though our mobile unit is there on Thursdays, there are doctors and nurses in that building at 2715 Highland Avenue every day that will give you a COVID test if you go in there and say you need one. And if anybody tells you that you can't get one, you tell them Miss Carla said that you could.
That's right.
So on that note, I just want to ask you, what message do you want to leave with our people today?
Yeah. I think I wanna say that you're beautiful,
Oh, thank you.
right? Our people appreciate your efforts and your energy that you are putting to make sure that we're healthy. I also want to say that let's everyone fight,
Yes.
like Representative John Lewis told us.
Yes.
He said it's okay to get in good trouble,
Yes.
right? It's okay to get into
Yes.
good trouble. So let's
Yes.
get into good trouble. Let's not accept what people want for us,
Yes.
but let's challenge people to give us what we deserve.
That was words from Dr. Rolanda L. Ward.
So,
And that's going to end our show today. I want to thank everybody for listening and for viewing and for being with us here today. And just remember to stay healthy. This is Carla Thomas, Community Health Center of Buffalo, Director of Marketing. This has been Color Me Healthy. Thank you.